Welcome, everybody. We are here to talk Tatooine. This is the latest in our set overview for Star Wars CCG. I'm joined once again by Steve. And what do we think about Tatooine? First
Uh,
prequel set, do we love it?
yeah,
What do you
this
think
is
here?
where things get a little controversial, I think, and where the game begins to go a little bit off the rails, probably.
Kind of jumped the shark a little bit. It was the beginning of the shark jumping, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Um, for those of you who keep up with the game and play in either the retro events or open, this is like a lot of retro players don't want to play with anything beyond Reflections 2. We occasionally
Mm.
dip into cards from this set, but this is not. This is the beginning of an unpopular final year for the game.
Yeah, 2001 was a really crowded year for this game because I don't know
Yes.
when they found out they were losing the license. I don't know if it was like they knew in February, they found out in June, or like I don't know. It's
I was
the
trying to look this up today because I realized the announcement that they were losing the license and the game was ending was in December, like a couple of weeks before they couldn't print any more stuff. But I think they were probably in negotiations throughout this calendar year, and I don't think they knew now during this. They probably knew a little bit later
I
because
feel
I
like
think
during I feel like I remember hearing people kind of like rumblings of it like that summer,
right,
right?
right. I think so, and I think when sets started coming out like every 2 months, and then every month at the end, then people knew something was up. But no, at this time, I think the issue that happened is uh, Decipher did not originally intend for this to be a prequel set. They
Mm.
had put out some advertisement materials where they said they were going to have three sets in 2001. It was going to be Skywalkers, Masters of the Force, and Scoundrels. And these were they're going to go back and revisit elements of the classic trilogy. Skywalkers would be focused on the Skywalker family, Luke, Leia, and Vader, and they were going to have like a new mechanic. It was they codenamed Liechtenstein, where it's going to be like new cards, like maybe interrupts or effects that would somehow like add abilities to older main characters, which would be an interesting way to like shore up mains that weren't used as much. I think was the idea, but Lucasfilm said no, we need you to use the episode one, the prequel material, in your main game. Like they'd already been doing Young Jedi, but they wanted the prequel stuff in the main game. And I think Decipher felt this pressure and thought this would be the only way they could secure renewal of the license because the Attack of the Clones is coming out about 1 year later. They wanted to make material from episode 2 and 3, and they had to put this into their flagship game. And so they sort of shoehorned elements of episode one into the Tatooine set and used, as we'll see in a few minutes, some things that were planned for the Skywalker set, and it came out of this kind of like this weird, small, like barely over 100 card expansion set.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was actually I think 90 cards, and then there
That's
was
right.
like nine AIs, alternate image
Yeah,
cards, and then like some rule cards.
so it's
Um,
not even 100 cards. It's like
you know,
90 actual cards.
this is a good example of like me seeing both sides of this because like I totally get why Lucasfilm be like, hey, we just had this brand new IP, like let's get some cards out. Like we don't need to
Yeah,
like play the hits
yeah,
from the 80s. Let's like do put
mhm,
Ian McGregor on a card.
yeah,
So I totally understand that. It's just I don't know, like it just didn't work. Like the movies didn't lend themselves well
yeah,
to cards. Like a lot of the big mechanics we're gonna explore in the episode one stuff, they just don't work. Like pod racing sucks as a
right,
mechanic in this
right,
game. The
yeah,
Senate sucks,
yeah.
as a mechanic in this game. Battle droids kind of like play with the droid, like it's just, they
They're
don't
weird.
play
They're
well
kind of
with.
weird. So I've
Um,
at this point made my peace with long since made my peace with the timeline issue with you having stuff from 40, 50 years before the classic trilogy intermeshed with the 4, 5, 6 stuff. I don't care about that anymore, really. But at the time, it definitely felt strange, and there's still people I know who just can't get over that. It's just like it does not fit in the classic game for them, which I understand that. Though I've made my peace with it. But like, look at this. Okay, so it came out in May of '01. We'll do a little history lesson here. Um, Top song in America is Janet Jackson's "All for You."
hmm.
Um, Top movie in May of '01. Any guesses on this one? It's from a franchise that I think was pretty hot back then, but kind of gone now.
I was gonna say Harry Potter, like maybe Chamber of Secrets, but that
No, those are Christmas releases. All those the
Oh,
first few are always at Christmas.
that's fun. No idea. Indiana Jones? No, it couldn't be
The
an Indiana.
Mummy Returns.
Oh my god, the Mummy is so good. One and
Yeah,
two, like I've watched that movie of like the Americans that get like their face sucked off by the mummy
yeah,
so many times. Like the
yeah.
greedy.
That movie made a lot of money. Like Mummy Returns. That franchise. Then they did like the Scorpion King, and they had uh, a whole Universal horror kind of revival.
Yeah, they tried to
Closely
relaunch
followed
the
by
movie.
the number two movie in America, closely followed after Mummy Returns, is a franchise that's still inexplicably going strong, or maybe explicably. It's
Mission Impossible.
no, Shrek, Shrek
Shrek.
One.
Oh, yeah, I think there's a new Shrek. Is it Shrek 4 coming out or like I
I
don't know.
think so, but you also get the Puss in Boots spinoff,
Oh
which
yeah.
kids like. I could vouch. I can as a parent, I can tell you the kids like that stuff still.
Okay. Yeah, I really thought you were going to say Mission Impossible because that's one that also inexplicably I don't understand what
Yeah.
more like Ghost Rogue. It's like in Mission Impossible 11,
I
maybe not
think
even.
we're at the end now. I think this is the last one. Just came out or about to come out.
Okay,
Um,
they say that, and that just like leads to like the actual last one eventually.
Yeah. CCG history, Magic is in the invasion block. They did Plane Shift in February, and Apocalypse is coming out in June. That's a pretty well loved block. Pokemon's doing Neo Discovery in June. I don't know as much about this era of Pokemon as like the base set era. Star Trek CCG releases Voyager in May, which we haven't talked about that on your channel as much, but the Voyager set is a big, like almost like a core set for Star Trek CCG. Um,
Mm.
Very overpowered, had a lot of like really important cards in it. Uh, I remember in '01 I bought a ton of Voyager because the show was still on the air and I was watching it. And I didn't really buy much of this for various reasons. So that's where my dollars were going, was the Voyager set.
Um, this is an interesting time, 2001. We're a little early in the year, but Lord of the Rings is coming out, so I
It
assume
is.
Decipher. It's kind of like a best of times, worst of
Mhm.
times vibe because the writing was starting to appear that maybe they weren't going to keep this big, sexy IP in Star Wars, but they
Mhm.
were going to be making this Lord of the Rings game, right? And
Yes,
so
I think they've announced it by this point, or yeah, I think they already announced it.
like very close to announcing it because those were Christmas releases as well, I think.
They were. I think the cards came out a few weeks or months before, like maybe a month before the
Maybe
movie.
like November or something.
I think it came out in November. We can double check that. Yeah, it came out in November. And then I think that they demoed it at like some of the summer trade shows and summer conventions. I think it's already been
So
announced at this point.
it's just like this interesting point where you're like, okay, we're one in, one out.
Yeah,
I mean, Lord of the Rings at that point, like people knew about it, but it wasn't like the home run hit. Like I think a lot of people
right.
were like, oh, what's this going to be like? And obviously, with hindsight, now we're like, it's going to be like the three best movies of the decade.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, it very well could have turned out like Phantom Menace, where people were like, this is not true to the work or
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, yeah, there's so many other like classic pieces of literature that got made into movies and just kind of totally flopped, like a John Carter of Mars type situation or
Right, League of
whatever.
Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, totally.
That's like one of my favorite trivia pieces. Is like Sean Connery was offered, I think, Dumbledore, and he turned it down. Then he was offered, I think I can't, I don't know if it was Gandalf or Sauron, and he turned it down. And he was like, okay, the next franchise that comes along is the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and so that's how he ended up in being
Man,
such
the
a
alternate
legendary
universe where he
actor.
is like in Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter.
Yeah, he could have literally been.
I mean, he could have lived long enough to be Dumbledore in all seven movies. I think all eight movies.
Yeah, I think
He
so.
died later on.
Yeah, that would. I mean, legend, absolute legend. But
Yeah,
League
yeah.
of Extraordinary Gentlemen, not great.
No, the comic book is pretty cool, though pretty dark and like controversial points, but it's worth reading. Um, yeah, so let's get into this. I mean, yeah, let's get into the cards on the next page.
Okay. I think there's a we're gonna do the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a
Yes.
lot of there's not a lot of
Yeah.
cards in this.
A lot of cards in a set. I don't want people to think I have four cards that's under the good. The bad and the ugly outweigh the good. There's a few things I want to point out here. I think you and I have a little bit of a sweet spot for Phantom Menace more than many grumpy middle-aged Star Wars fans. So I gotta say, Darth Maul is cool. Like the card is every version of him. I think is cool and good, and I love having Darth Maul in the game, even if it breaks the timeline.
Yeah, I like Darth Maul as a personality. I actually think I like him more as just a Phantom Menace thing and less as like a Clone Wars. He's revived and turned into like a cyborg with like octopus legs or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But like he's a cool, mysterious, powerful, foe that is really interesting to explore.
Yes, totally.
Qui-Gon as well. Qui-Gon's cool.
Qui-Gon's cool. He's very cool. I put the AI up there. We'll talk about AIs in a second. Alternate images, not artificial intelligence. But I think Qui-Gon is good in the game. And actually, I think, with the exception of the Qui-Gon and Maul EPPs, I think all of the Jedi on the light side, they somehow got them right in terms of the balance. Like you'd think that having Republic era Jedi running around would just blow the game wide open. They'd all be overpowered. They'd be way better than Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight or Obi-Wan Kenobi. But in terms of like the deploy cost being pretty high and their game tech's not always doing a ton, I think they managed to make all of the Jedi in the episode 1 sets good but not broken. Am I right about this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is more of a Coruscant thing, but like I think most of the Jedi Masters are just like unplayable in this. I don't know. There's probably some meta stuff that's happened right now in open, but
Right.
I just think they're mostly kind of crappy, right? Like, why am I going to play whatever Deepa or
Right. Yeah. Plo Koon or whatever. I'm running. We're doing the Decipher Cards open, Decipher Cards only, not open. Decipher Cards only modified in the Retro League. I am running a couple of them in my Lightsaber Combat deck because they kept some interesting things they can do at the Jedi Council Chamber. But yeah, their deployment restrictions or their deploy costs are really high. But I think Qui-Gon's cool. And talk about alternate images. I like the alternate images because I think alternate images in a CCG are one way that you can appeal to the collectors and add a collectability, a chase element without making it prohibitively expensive to play the game.
100%. I think it was cool. So I think it was 1 in every 4, right? So it's like 3 normal to 1 AI. It was a nice little fun thing to chase. These packs were, small. And it seems like I remember them being cheaper, but maybe I'm making that up.
Well, no, they were not actually cheaper. They're still $329 for we're in the what pack era? I think we're in the 11 card pack era. Yeah, 11 card packs. But they produced this set in pretty large numbers.
Okay.
Large quantities. So this set was always easy to find. There was a time when you could buy boxes of this set for $10 to $15, booster boxes in the mid 00s. So this, unlike Coruscant or Theed, which became quite expensive quickly, this set was always easy to get. So the AIs are not hard to find.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think that this set, the AI is here. So I think a full set's like $100 and the AIs are maybe another $100. So it's like all pretty affordable-ish. But other cards that are good, the 3PO here is cool. Like it does some interesting stuff, allows you kind of like cycle a little bit, which I think is a much needed mechanic for every single deck.
The interesting thing about this 3PO, and I think we'll run into this a lot in the next 2 sets, is like, is this a good or a bad? Because he is very powerful and he can allow for some deck manipulation that can be quite nasty. But I think on the balance he's good. But a lot of these cards that are like above the power curve, one could say they're good or they're bad. It's hard to say exactly, but I like him. I think he can allow you to do some interesting things with your decks. And he's also like the only unambiguously good version of C3PO, right?
That's I mean most
R2 and 3PO is pretty good, but 3PO standalone card, this is the only one that's actually good, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, mostly 3PO is bad.
Like, no, you don't want him around, like the actual character.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Um, there's these effects that are in the set too, which are served to bolster tier 2 objectives. So this is keeping the Empire out forever. This one greatly improves Quiet Mining Colony, and these are all pretty cool. They take decks that objectives that are, tier 2 or worse. And I don't know if any of them come quite up to like S tier or anything like this, but I think Quiet Mining Colony becomes a pretty solid deck.
It goes
The
from
other
like a
ones,
C to like B plus tier or something.
yeah, that sounds right. That sounds right. Yeah. You go in for Dark Side, which is good for Walker Garrison decks, which are my personal favorite of mine. Ripple Strike Team gets some help. So these are cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're like a necessary little tweak that maybe they needed a little bit more like on the turn, but it works out. Moving to the bad, this
You have
card
these.
is game breaking.
Yeah, this card's bad. This is a Jedi's resilience, right? They all have names like a Jedi's concentration, Jedi's focus. This is the worst one. They all have really high destiny numbers, either 5s or 6s. And this one, like the problem with this card is it lets you just when a character with a lightsaber dies, comes back to your hand. Like, why didn't they know that this is going to be used to just scoop EPPs up, enhanced Jedi with weapons, basically,
Right.
Jedi with lightsabers. That's what this is primarily used for, to scoop them back to your hand, making already pretty overpowered characters even more overpowered. So this just looks like bad play testing to me.
Yeah, and it's just like we talk about that power curve. This is just like 2 standard deviations above it, right? Like
Right.
in having it be a Destiny 6, is it a lost or used? It's lost, I think.
It's lost, fortunately, yes. I think a couple other ones are less powerful or used, but this one's lost.
So when we say bad, we mean it's just very good, which sort of skewed things.
Well, it's bad because I don't think it makes the game better to have a way to bring enhanced like Luke with lightsaber or Obi-Wan with lightsaber back to your hand. Like, why is that needed? They're already probably the most universally useful versions of these characters. So yeah, I don't think this improves the game. I think it makes it worse by being really powerful.
Yeah.
And these cards were obviously part of the canceled Skywalker's expansion, and maybe weren't quite ready for prime time. And it's got folded in to make this like weirdly small set.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. This kind of got like put in there. I was just thinking about how you said that they had a new mechanic with codename Liechtenstein. That's just like so random. I was just thinking about that fact. That's what I was.
Yeah,
that's what my brain was right now. I was like, Liechtenstein. What a weird code name.
Yeah, a tiny little country. Let's talk pod racing.
Let's talk pod racing.
I love it in the movie. It's my favorite part of the prequel trilogy. Probably my favorite scene from the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, there's a lot to love about pod racing in the movie. Not
in the
so
game.
much in the game.
No,
I mean,
it's a mess.
This is like one of the things that just goes down to like, this game is clunky, and the way that everything always works is like some complex calculation, right? Where it's like, okay, you and your opponent both draw destiny. You're going to add the amount of blank, 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 like every single mini game, whether blowing up the Death Star or pod racing or whatever, Sabak, it's all like drawing destiny plus adding in numbers based on locations you occupy, whatever.
Right. It's a complicated arithmetic problem. But unlike blowing up the Death Star or attack runs, which aren't any good, this one is very powerful. And if you're not playing the pod racing and playing pod racing, your opponent is, you just get thrashed and lose a ton of force. It's a huge game swing.
Yeah, and I think you lose 6 and they gain 6.
Yep,
There's
so 12 swing.
Yeah, and it's just
basically, I did it even more if I did it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's crappy. It's crappy because it also, when you have something that powerful, it snuffs out other things, and it like really stymies creativity and deck building options. And
this can go in any light side deck. It's a totally modular little package that you just throw into any deck. It requires not really much commitment to it.
It's like 6 cards, maybe.
Yeah. And it's just, it's bad, a ton of variance. Even if your opponent's running it also, and they don't quite get everything out in time, Yeah. It doesn't also feel anything like the pod race in the movie. It's just a complicated arithmetic problem that swings the game.
Yeah. I don't know. There's like, now we're here. I'm like, there were so many cool things they could have done. I don't know how I would have done pod racing,
Yeah.
but I just would have tried to not make it an arithmetic problem. Like,
Yeah, racing is a little tricky in games. The recent Magic Speed Racer set, what was it called? Aether Drift did not feel very much like racing either. But at least that was relatively simple. This was very complicated. Yeah, so we banned the Boon Div Pod Race card in the Decipher Cards only modified format this year, which I think was a good thing.
I think that's right.
We did a Tatooine small tournament, I think last year, or is it recently for the Phantom Menace anniversary, and it was it was not fun.
I also think the thing about pod racing is I think the light side is just better at it than like I think Sebulba's pod racer is not as good as Anakin. So even if your opponent's doing it, it's like light side has a clear advantage.
And light side has I did it, and dark side does not.
Yeah. So it's just sort of like structurally one side is more likely to win.
Right.
And that's no fun.
So this set is probably one of the the least favored sets in the game, right? This is one of the least popular sets with Dagobah, probably.
It's funny you say that, and this video is like longer than like Endor. Like it's just somehow 20 minutes plus of stuff to say, but yeah, it ranks I think pretty low among people's like favorite.
Another problem with this set is that it doesn't include any objectives, so you can't even build an episode 1 themed deck out of it. If I forgot, I always think that like the Watto objective is from this set, but it's not. It's from Coruscant.
That Watto objective is actually very good. It's interesting. I think also just being 90 cards, like don't release 90 card sets. That's actually one of my rules of game. Like don't release something that's not complete because you can't really do much with it, right?
Yeah, that's right.
120 should be your baseline. Otherwise, just put it out in a little like fixed product.
Yeah, and I think episode one stuff, to me, it feels a little bit better, more complete once we get to Coruscant and Theed, and you can do more in almost like an episode 1 only kind of environment. Yeah,
which I think is where they were going with this. If they'd kept the license, which is why there's that little episode 1 logo. Where 3 years later, you could have had episode 1 only sealed tournament, right? Or something like that.
You could Attack of the Clones in there. They could have had so much. But we can talk about that later.
That's another like thought here. And this is obviously using 2025 brain, but a lot of this stuff does not lend well to like a draft environment. Because like you're going to open up some of this stuff like this is just like utter crap if you don't have like all the pieces,
Right.
And I think maybe Theed does an okay job where you can have like a little draft-ish, but like none of this game lends well to draft, which I think is people's like favorite format or like a pre-release environment.
Right.
This would be a pretty boring pre-release, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all I got. Steve, do you have anything to wrap us up here?
No, it'll be interesting as we go through these last few sets to think about how this game ended and what was going on in the company at that time. But yeah, this is a good start to that discussion.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys later.